Video, let us see about token passing algorithms. So, what is a token? It is actually a special kind of message, that can be used either to convey some permission or to take an action or to gather some state information. So it is a special kind of message that you can be using for convey some permissions or to gather information. Gather any state informations, you can use a token. So in this video we will be seeing about two problems basically related to synchronization. Is one critical section problem, critical section problem, and then we'll be seeing algorithm for detecting when this distributed computation has terminated. So that is the next problem, termination detection in distributed computation. Using this approach of token passing. So that is the idea. So now let us see each of these problems. So the first problem that we can see is the critical section problem, that is distributed mutual exclusion. So you hope you remember the definition of critical section problem, right? Normally when a program is trying to access a shared part of the code, multiple processors are trying to access a shared part of the code. The critical section problem, or that is assumed to be a critical section. So in the critical section only one process can enter and execute the that using that shared resource it can execute, and after leaving that critical section only next process can enter. So that's how a classical synchronization problem is defined for this critical section problem. So it ensures that at most one process at a time executes a code and access the shared resources. That is the idea of critical section problem. So it ensures that at most one process at a time executes code that accesses a shared resource. Okay, so how do you do it for a distributed program? Okay, so here a solution to the critical section problem using distributed mutual exclusion is discussed. So one solution is to maintain active monitors and which regularly decides or gives permission to access a critical section. So that's one possible solution to maintain regular or active monitors, which involves in locking and unlocking or granting permission to enter this critical section. But this kind of implementing locks and this thing is done on a non-replicated files, so that can be used, monitors can be used on this kind of inputs like non-replicated files, and it becomes simple and efficient, not for a huge number of processors which is involved in the distributed programs. So next possible solution is to maintain a distributed semaphore that we have seen in the last video. Using distributed semaphores, we will be implementing critical section problem. So that is also a possible solution, which is actually a decentralized solution. There is no central entity which monitors or which controls the updation of semaphore or the count, all those things that we have discussed in the last video. So it is actually a decentralized solution, and the main disadvantage of this distributed semaphore is the huge number of messages that is needed to be exchanged. Huge number of messages to be exchanged. So that is one of the issue when you are doing a distributed semaphores. So we have seen the number of messages involved. You will be having broadcast messages which has system sent to the whole processors involved in this distributed setup, right? Then sender sends broadcast, then ACK is broadcasted. So the number of messages that is to be dealt in case of distributed semaphores is very huge. So the efficiency or the communication part will become an overhead here. The next possible solution is using token ring. So that is the concept that we are going to see, where the number of, again it is a decentralized solution only. The number of messages is reduced as compared to the distributed semaphore. Okay, so that is the idea. So these are the three possible ways you can solve this critical section problem. One is active monitors, which is mainly used for some simple and simple scenarios where you have to deal with non-replicated files and give permissions to access these files. So in that case you will be using active monitors. Then you have distributed semaphores, then token ring. Okay, so these are the different ways which you can solve the mutual exclusion or critical section problem. So now let us see about the token ring, which is a concept that we are going to discuss in this video. So each process, you have a set of processes involved in the critical section. So you will be having in this set of processor is a mixture of you will have a critical section codes, as well as the processes which are using non-critical section codes. So it is a mixture of so you have set of collection of processes, so that may contain critical section code or non-critical section code. So now the critical sections, they are going to access the shared resources. They are going to access shared resource. So here you have to do a mutual exclusion of this shared resource. Mutual exclusion need to be applied so that only one process accesses this shared resource at a time. Okay, so when it enters a critical section, So here you have to access only one, only one process should access this shared resource. Accesses the shared resource. So that is the idea of any critical section, as the definition is mentioned in before. So the non-critical sections normally use non-critical resources, and they can execute concurrently. Because they are not accessing any shared resources. So there is no need of any kind of synchronization. They they can actually execute independently. So this part of the code in any of this process can be executed concurrently. So now the how do we design this critical section solution? So that is the main uh, topic of discussion. So the task now is to we have to develop the entry and exit protocols for the processes that is involved in the critical section problem. So this protocol must ensure that that critical sections execute with mutual uh, exclusion. Okay, so they should avoid unnecessary delays, avoid deadlocks. All these things should be preserved by the or ensured by this protocol. So we have to design this how a process should enter into the critical section, or how it should exit the critical section, or what it has to do, right? So the task is now to develop the entry and exit protocols that the process execute before and after their critical sections. So how they have to execute. So that is an idea. Now going when we try to discuss this, let us take an scenario here, and we'll present an algorithm for mutual exclusion. So entry to the critical section is controlled by means of circulating tokens. So as we told, the tokens are used for granting some permissions or gather some informations, state informations, etc. So here we will be circulating the tokens which controls the entry to the critical section. So here tokens are used to control the entry to critical section. So here each process will have an associated helper function. Okay, so let us start the each of the whole process which is involved in this distributed mutual exclusion. So you have process P 1 to n. Okay, n different processes are there. So each of this process is associated with an helper function. Okay, so you have an helper function or helper process, an additional process associated with each of the process. So you have a helper process in addition to the original process. So this helper is associated with each of the process. The helpers actually form a ring. So you have say a ring structure, token ring or token passing. So you will be having a ring structure. So you have helper 1, helper 2, helper 3, So you have a ring structure here. Okay, so the helpers actually form a ring and share one token. So this helper function deals with the entry conditions for entering into the critical section. Each process, how when can it enter the critical section and execute the shared code, right? So once the token, any helper function possess the this token, it actually indicates that the this process which is associated with the helper can now enter the critical section. So I told you, like, each process will have an additional process. Apart from this process, you will have an helper process uh, which is there for each of the individual processes. So here I have represented only the helper function. So this is actually, each helper is associated with each process. Okay, so here you will have p2, p3, p4, p5. So when an helper function helper process actually gets one token, and the token is this token is actually shared in this as a ring structure. So when an helper process possesses the token, which indicates that this particular process which is associated with this helper is ready to execute the critical section. So that is the idea. The token is actually circulated between the helpers. Uh, Token is circulated between the helpers. Okay, so you have this token. So I'll represent the token here as this green box. Okay, so this is a token. So one the helper one, so the token circulates being passed from helper 1. So helper 1 sends this token to helper 2 and to helper 3 and so on. So this is just to indicate that it is a kind of a ring structure and so on, and it reaches the helper n, which again you will be getting it to helper 1. So when helper I, any helper, it receives the token, it checks if it's client. Okay, so if it's client, that a client is the process. So I told you, so you have a process pi, and to each pi you have an associated helper of I. So this here, this p of I is visualized or the as a client, and here this helper function is a server. Okay, so you have each process, and each process is associated with the helper, and the process is called itself as a client, and the helper is called as the server. So this client server message passing that we have seen in our previous classes, you can just refer that. So the same idea is used when the helper and process is trying to communicate. Okay, so you have, so here you have the helper. If helper 1 receives the token, it checks if the process 1 is ready to enter. So process 1, you will be checking if this wants to execute critical section. Okay, so this is done only when the token, so this green box is seen as a token. So this token is when it receives by the helper 1, the helper 1 checks if there is if p1 p of 1 wants to enter its critical section. So if not, if suppose a p1 at this point, p1 does not want to enter, it is executing a non-critical section, then the token is passed to the next helper. So here now what happens, the token is now you will be passing, and the token reaches the helper. Okay, so now the helper again, so here the same process is repeated. Helper to checks whether it wants to enter the critical section. So if it tells helper tells that p of I that may enter its critical section, then waits until p of I exits. So suppose, so the process involved or the process associated with helper 2, that is say process 2, is ready to enter its critical section. Okay, so it wants to execute critical section. Okay, so here I've told when it does not wants to execute a critical section or a non-critical section part of the code is executed, then the helper 1 does not holds the token, it passes the token to the next helper in the ring. So when the token is received by the next process, say helper of 2 here, it checks with the p of 2 the same action. So p of 2, if p of 2 wants to execute the critical section or not. If say p of 2 wants to execute the critical section, then this token is hold possessed by helper of 2, and this token will be passed to helper of 3 only when p of 2 exits from the critical section. Okay, so once a p of 2 exits from the critical section, then only the token possessed by the associated helper will be transferred to the next helper process. So that is how this mutual distributed mutual exclusion is implemented using token passing algorithms. So that's the idea. So this whole algorithm shows the uh, details of how it is implemented. So you have a channel called token. Basically this token does not send any messages, it is just a kind of an indicator to give permission. So this itself does not have any data. So this you can visualize it as null message. Okay, so you can see the message part of the channel is left empty, so it is seen as a null message. No data, token does not carry any data. So other channels are used for communication between each client, that is I told you. So this p of I will be acting as a client, and this helper which is associated with its process is behaves as a server. So here it will be a kind of a client server communication happening. So when say send enter of I, so you are the some any sender process, or sorry, any process is requesting to enter the critical section, so it is notified by the send message in the enter channel, so entry protocol. So when it sends, so the helper function which acts as a server is receiving that as a token of I. And you can see when the helper function acquires this token, and this is a null message. So if not empty of entry of enter of I. Okay, so this enter of I is now having send message in its channel. So based on that, so if it will check p of I wants to enter, so the signal is already there. So once it is there, you will get the receive enter of I. So the corresponding receive for enter of I is done only after possessing the token. So if it is having the token, so this ensures the mutual exclusion. Only if the helper function possesses a token, the corresponding entry or into the critical section will be activated. Okay, so enter of I. So once this enter of I is done, it is signaled back send go of I. So the control again goes to the process. So once a sender is done, so it comes here in the sender in the process, so it receives this. So it's a kind of an acknowledgement that you have, once a token is processed, it receives the process and understands. So the server or the helper function understands that the process associated with this helper needs to enter the critical section. So a signal is passed back send go of I. When it is received, you will be entering the critical section. So once a critical section the critical section is executed, and you can see at this point the token is possessed by this helper function. Okay, so this can be done only when the token is possessed. So after executing the critical section, it has to indicate its helper function. So this process has to indicate the helper function that I am exiting from the critical section part. Only then the token possessed can be sent to the next helper process, right? So send exit of I. So once that send exit of I done is there, so it gives a receive exit of I. Okay, so if and then it receives the exit signal, then message, then it breaks out, and you can see the token is modified, right? So you can see it is a circular kind of list. So how to, it is not just giving it to I plus plus, right? So it is a circular you can visualize it as a circular linked list, and how you pass the token to the next is using this I mod n plus 1, right? So this ensures, you can see this code actually ensures the mutual exclusion using the token ring. So you are helper, so you have two components, that is a client and the server. Here the process is visualized as a client, and each associated helper process for the process, any p process is given as a server. So it's a client server communication, and the helper always possesses the token. So if it has the token, it enters the critical section, else it has to wait for its chance to enter the critical section. So this is the mutual exclusion algorithm using token passing method.